the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Friday, the 13th of August of 2021, that day that a lot of people superstitiously consider a bad day. It actually hasn't gone all that well for me today, but you know, that's life and you just kind of deal with it. I don't think it's really anything to do with Friday the 13th. Welcome to everybody who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube. Thank you for coming along today. Remember that Rumble is my preferred platform. And I would prefer that you tune into me there if you choose to do so. I talk about how you can do that at the end of the video. And the subject for today is going to be Christianity and leadership. I guess I should go ahead and read my notes to begin with to kind of give you an idea of what I'm talking about. Dinesh D'Souza, who I listen to on a fairly regular basis, was talking about conservative schools, and one of them was paleoconservative, and the other was some Germanic name. I don't remember exactly what it was, and he said the sort of focus of them is different, but the problem in my mind is this. Most people think the answer to life is to look at things from a perspective of Americanism, constitutionalism, or conservatism first. And in my mind, nothing could be further from the truth, as in my opinion, as I view it. Your beliefs as a Christian should come first. Everything else should flow from that. And I'm not saying I'm any expert or any great individual where that's concerned. I'm just saying that that's how that seems to me it ought to be. That said, the idea that others have the right to fail, they have free will, is a base tenet of Christianity. That doesn't mean there aren't consequences. Whether you fail or succeed, there are consequences to what you do. There's a definite reality to the idea that we're called to be champions also, or for the widows and orphans and others who cannot fend for themselves. And that's something that we ought to be taking into consideration as Christians. The question is, how do we do that? And different people have different ways, different answers that they consider to be good. I have mine, obviously, and mine is to be a person of honesty and integrity and to try and work towards those ends whenever I see myself able to do so. Remember this, for those of you who claim Christ, Jesus had something to say about Christian leadership. What he put out there is not consistent with what a lot of believers claim to be their place where they live, right? That's why I decided it was a good plan to discuss Christianity and leadership, and so that's what I'm going to do today. It's an easy thing, in my view, to get caught up in the ways of the world. It's an easy thing to do. It's a dog simple thing to do, quite frankly. And I do it. And I'm not trying to sit here and judge other people and find them wanting for something that I'm quite guilty of myself at times. I let myself get caught up in worldly things, and I shouldn't, right? None of us should, but we do. We all do. We all get caught up in world things. And part of that is politics, and part of it is society and culture and so forth. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't get involved in those things at all, but I'm saying that how we involve ourselves in those things is something that I think a lot of people might not be doing as they ought to be doing it. And one example of that in my mind is leadership where Christians are concerned. Jesus said something that was pretty significant, and I'm going to go ahead and put it up on the screen, and I'm going to read it for you so that you can hear what it says in case you're listening on the podcast or whatever. And it is Matthew 25 through 28, and it says this, "But Jesus called unto him and said, Ye know, the princes of the Gentiles exercise dominion over them, and they that are great exercise authority upon them. But it shall not be so among you. But whosoever will be great among you, let him be your minister, and whosoever will be chief among you, let him be your servant. Even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered to, and to give his life came not to be ministered unto, but to give his life. I'm getting that wrong today. Even as the Son of Man came not to be ministered unto, but to minister and to give his life a ransom for many." I want to make sure that I quote it as it actually is spoken. That's important. And me like everybody, I'm not only potentially prone to misread, but I'm also prone to take away things that are not there. But I think it's pretty clear what Jesus was saying when he said that, right? He gave an example, and it was not in words. It was in actions, in deeds. He went and he washed his disciples' feet. Now, I can't think of a thing that a lot of people would look at as more demeaning than the washing of the feet of probably sandaled people trotting around an area that's not particularly probably favorable to feet. Yet Jesus came and washed the feet of the disciples, and he gave this to them as a picture of who they were to be, not in terms of just being servants, but in terms of being leaders. And this is one of the things that I think a lot of people forget about Christianity. So if you happen to be a politician or a preacher somewhere, or you happen to be some muckety-muck in some business or whatever, hey, guess what? If you claim to be a Christian, the person you are supposed to be, as far as I understand it, and by the way, I fail at this too, so I'm not sitting here trying to blame you and saying, oh, you're the the most horrible human being in the world if you fail this. I'm simply saying the person you ought to be is that servant, that man or woman with a servant's heart who's working to make other people's lives better and to serve them. Now, sometimes servanthood looks a lot different than you would think. Sometimes it does, and I'll acknowledge that. But the thing about most people is they don't start from a position of servitude. They start from a position of mastery. And in fact, you can see this in American politics today quite clearly, and you can see it, honestly, in a lot of American churches at the moment. And I'm not sitting here trying to say that America's alone in this either. Don't think that I'm saying the rest of the world gets off on this either. And again, if you ask me, well, Kurt, are you really very good at this? The answer is, at times, the answer to that is definitely not. How much of the time? Well, I'd have to let other people answer for that. I try very hard to be a person who serves, but I'll tell you this, even when you do it grudgingly, I think you're doing it wrong. And I'll be the first to admit that there are lots of times, for example, when I'm serving my son, when I do it grudgingly. And I have to back off and I have to say to myself, this is not what a leader looks like in his household. A leader looks like a servant. I know that sounds counterintuitive. I get it. But that is what you are called to be if you're a Christian, as far as I understand it. And this is what I'm trying to tell you. And what that means is all of those people out there, like I say, in politics and in government offices and in priesthoods, if you will, or whatever you want to call them, pastorates, whatever you want to call them, those people are called, just like everyone else, to be servants if they're Christians. And if they're not doing that, they're failing. Not completely necessarily. It doesn't mean that everything they're doing is wrong or bad. It just means that there's this issue with their heart with regard to how they're doing what they should be doing, how to be a servant, how to be the person working for other people. I heard a lady in Congress the other day talking about how it was really important for her to have her security budget, and I know people will know who I'm talking about, and I'm not really trying to do that. How it was really important to have her security budget so that she could push through the stuff that she wanted to push through, and how the police nonetheless had to be defunded. And I'm thinking, wait, what? What you're talking about people who are servants to the people around them in terms of the police. That's who they're supposed to be. And you're talking about those people being taken away while you live up in your ivory tower with your security detail worried about whether or not supposedly you're going to be hurt. Okay? And I've just got to tell you something. It happens every once in a while that a political person gets assassinated or even just beat or whatever. But 95% of the time, you're no more at risk than any other human being on the face of the planet. And more importantly, if you claim Christianity, which I don't know that this person actually does, and I'm not trying to speak against them, I'm just trying to say I don't know. I really, truly don't know. But if you claim Christianity, then your job is to act as a servant when you're in a position of leadership. And obviously, you have to be careful to do that for everyone over whom you're supposedly a leader. I'll also say that American politicians are supposed to serve the people. This is, I think, the founders' way to describe the idea of leadership serving, at least in part. If you look at some of the things that they say, you'll see that they say that very thing is true. All right, I need to go ahead and wrap up, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. This is the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I'm your host. I'm Kurt. Today is Friday, the 13th of August of 2021, that day that lots of people think is a horribly bad day for those who are superstitious. Tomorrow will be Saturday, the 14th of August of 2021. Welcome to everybody who's here on Rumble, on the podcast, and on YouTube, and thank you for joining me. Again, remember that Rumble is my preferred platform. Remember that you can give me a positive or a negative Rumble on Rumble. You can give me a negative if you feel you must. Remember that you can give me a thumbs up or a like or a thumbs down or a dislike on YouTube. I would love for you, if you decide that I deserve a thumbs down or a negative Rumble, for you to explain to me why it is that that's true. I get that, it's hard for me to do that at times, and I think probably most of the time people are just going to try and find a way around it. I promise you that I'm going to really take to heart what you're saying and try to follow that. The subject for today has been Christianity and leadership, and tomorrow we're going to talk about our places, and that has to do with where you are in your walk on this earth and as a Christian in your walk in Christianity as compared to where I am, and the fact that those two can be totally different from two different people. Looking at two different people, or three or more, whatever, right? They can be totally different things. Hope you're having a good day today. Today is Friday. It is that beginning of the weekend for a lot of folks. We're coming right up on that as I speak. And I hope that you're having a good day today. I hope to see you tomorrow on the next edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. The speaker on this edition of the Daily Summation is Kurt Schubert. This video was recorded on Friday the 13th of August of 2021. The Daily Summation is created for Kurt's Religion and Politics. Thanks for watching this edition of the Daily Summation from Kurt's Religion and Politics. I hope you found it entertaining or instructional, or maybe both. If you want to see more from me, you can go to blogs.kpschubert.com. That's blogs.kpschubert.com. I am on Twitter, Parler, and Minds.com. My handle on each of those is @kpschubert. That's @kpschubert. I have a Rumble and a YouTube channel. They are the Kurt's Religion and Politics channels on Rumble and YouTube. I have a Facebook page. The Facebook page is Kurt's Religion and Politics as well. I am on Patreon. If you want to support me, that's one of the better places you can do that. And you will find me at Kurt's Religion and Politics on Patreon. I have a podcast. The podcast is podcasts with an S, .kpschubert.com. That's podcasts.kpschubert.com. I think you should be able to find me with relative ease on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and Spotify as well. The best way I find to do that is to look for Kurt's Religion and Politics. You can try to use the Daily Summation. I find that it doesn't work as well as a general rule, but you can always try that. I'm glad to have you aboard today, and hopefully we will see you again tomorrow.